Hey, Carl. Thank you so much for coming in here to Skull Marketing. It's an honor and a pleasure having you here. And we want to spotlight your career, just talk a little bit about your life in football and what your journey has meant to you. So, I want to start with your earliest days playing football, playing in high school in North Carolina. Was it always your dream to be in the NFL? And was football always your favorite sport?
Well, I played football. I tried basketball and baseball. Uh, but football was the sport that I actually made the team. Well, I knew very well the basketball and baseball. I thought it would, but I didn't.
So, you ended up coming from North Carolina to Minnesota. What's the story of coming to Minnesota and playing for the Gophers?
Well, I think Bobby Bell had something to do with that because he was, even as a freshman, he's just a year ahead of me. He was getting some notoriety. I don't know if he played. I think he played as a freshman. He could play back then. And I had other scholarships. One was out east. I don't know if it was Massachusetts or somewhere in there. I wasn't that familiar with the school. And so I don't know what made the decision, but I thought coming to Minnesota was a really good decision because at that time I think I wanted some kind of recognition, some kind of visibility, and I thought coming to Minnesota I would have that, and besides I would have be far away from home. I was a young kid, hadn't traveled a lot, so I thought, man, going to Minnesota was really great opportunity for me.
And you were there during the golden age of the Gophers. You guys were the last team to win the Rose Bowl. I mean, you were there at a good time.
Well, I was there at a good time. I was there, and the university was a challenge for me because it was a big school, and I lived in the dorm. And I had dorms, and everything was kind of scheduled, and I walked to classes. And I remember the mall. The mall was really impressive on the campus. So I really like being on campus and living on campus. But the whole thing was something I had to adjust to and get used to.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to the University of Minnesota as well, and it's a big campus to get to get used to, especially if you're coming from like a smaller town. It's a little bit harder.
Well, it was a big campus, but I really liked the mall. And I think the mall kind of led up whatever the building was in the center of the mall, and back at the end of it kind of was that the I don't know if it was auditorium or theater or something,
yeah.
but
Northrop.
the Northrop Auditorium, yeah, sure. Your memories are better than mine. But that was impressive, and the way the school was laid out, and it was closer to the Mississippi River. For some reason, that was a consolation to me, but I don't remember why.
Yeah. Well, it worked out, and when it was time to come to the NFL, you ended up not having to travel far. You ended up going to the Minnesota Vikings. Can you kind of walk us through sort of your early days in the NFL? What was the biggest challenge for you as you first came into the league, changing from college to NFL? Was it hard to adjust, or did you pick up kind of quickly?
Well, let's go back to the days of choosing the Vikings. I think Van Bach was the coach then and head coach. I want to kind of talk about what that draft was like, and you don't know much about it. You don't have any control over it as a player. So, the choice, well, I think I talked to Buffalo, and Minnesota was kind of competition within the American Conference then, and then the NFL. And so there was a good chance to me of going to, some of the team. That was the team that had drafted me. And I didn't want that. I was kind of wanted to be a Viking. I wanted to stay in Minnesota because I'd gone to the university and I knew something about Minnesota. I kind of felt, this is a good place. Minneapolis was a place, and the other school, another team. I'm not sure. I think it was Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills, which would have been a good team, but I didn't know much about the Bills or about Buffalo. And so it really helps to kind of feel you that school wants you, the coach wants you, the team wants you. And they kind of assured me that, hey, come to Minnesota, because competition was really tough in those days because the Bills were really competitive. But I didn't have much contact with them. And so the Vikings, they had lost to the American Conference, the American Football League the year before with Bobby. So they were really interested in getting me aside. And it's kind of funny. I don't know if they hit me or not, but I think they did. I think they hit me at some hotel or some place on campus where nobody knew where I was. I didn't know where I was. But that's where they wanted to protect me from being drafted or being coerced by the other league or the other conference. So there's kind of a lot going on back then.
So you make this transition going from a college student playing for the Gophers to being drafted into the NFL. Was there any big lifestyle changes that came with that? Do you remember getting that first NFL paycheck and maybe buying something flashy, anything like that? Any stories you could share there?
Well, the biggest thing is a professional athlete, you don't have college classes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So there's a big difference right there. So it's just kind of worrying or thinking about football, not classes, because you have to think about class, your grades, and all that stuff there.
Athlete.
And so I felt kind of a freedom there. And it was kind of good to go in the NFL. I really didn't know how you don't know in much how you're going to stack up or what kind of competition there is. So I had a chance to test out my abilities, I guess. And I found the competition to be very tough. I was challenged every game, you know. And that was actually kind of exciting because you learn new techniques and to learn about the players. You have to learn about the individual, you know, it's a team stuff that matter, but you have to learn about teams that run your way, that you have the block. Is it going to block you inside or outside? All this stuff came with watching the film, so it was a learning take or a learning experience. But I had to be prepared for the team and the player. You had to know something about them, where they like to run, the kind of how they like to block you. And so being prepared for that was kind of difficult, and really because you had to know, not only you had to know what defenses you had, what they would call, and so but you had to use that against your opponent, and so it was kind of a two-way street.
Football is the ultimate team game, and you were part of some legendary teams. What can you say about your teammates that helped enhance your experience as a football player? How did they help you?
Well, I think they welcomed me, first of all. They welcomed me, and they were happy for me to join, and I was able to play right away. I felt part of the team. I felt very much a part of the team with Minnesota and with the Vikings. But with the Vikings, I felt really good because I felt like they wanted me, you know. And the good thing about Bobby Bell, I mean, he kind of laid the path for me, but they wanted to keep me in Minnesota and not lose another athlete, one they felt was one of the Minnesota players to some other team or some other city or something like that. So all that worked to my advantage, and I was happy of that because that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a Viking.
Yeah, and it worked out. You truly are a Viking.
It worked out, yes.
So looking back at your career, you have some incredible numbers. I mean, between the two of you, between you and me, I mean, there's 133 and a half sacks total, and I didn't play in the NFL, so that means those were all you. Incredible numbers. You had 23 fumble recoveries, a few defensive touchdowns. When you look back at your career, what are you the most proud of?
Well, I'm astonished, really, because when I look at my records, when I look at my numbers, they are impressive. So I had to get myself in the mode where I had to accept that. I had to accept my success. And actually, I think it kind of led to some, I don't know, I wouldn't say disappointments on myself because they're really fantastic, credentials.
Yeah.
But boy, I always felt that like I said, it was a learning process. You had to learn a lot, not just how to be a teammate or how to be a Viking and all that stuff, but also about the other players, and you measure yourself against other teams or wherever. It was kind of intense. And so the idea of my record speaks for itself, but I was kind of a team player, and I wasn't boastful or braggadocious, but so it took a long time for me to accept those numbers. And I had some psychological difficulties because of that. And this is something really, I think, relatively new, relatively new in the fact that I was trying to find out, well, where did this come from? I felt pretty much independent, but it's unusual to accomplish all the success that I had by yourself as an individual. And so I had to look at my family and look at my heritage and all that stuff. I investigated all of that stuff, and there weren't any easy answers. So it caused me really, this is my first interview where I've exposed kind of where the mental difficulty that I had with that. And so the mental difficulty for me was accepting that I was the kind of player that I was. I mean, it may sound kind of far-fetched, but really I had tremendous success, and I just I couldn't accept it, or I couldn't realize where that come from. I tried to look back at my family, my heritage, where I came from, my competition.
Yeah.
It was all that stuff. I mean, because my record is a fantastic record, it's kind of a unusual. I certainly followed Bobby Bell, like you say, but he had a fantastic record. And but for me personally, I think this is a good note for, I don't know, maybe growing up or in North Carolina or just growing up without a father or something like that, because I think your heritage is really important, and your family's support is really important. And I was kind of a first, and so I had to go through all of this. And so, like as I say, it came late. I'm just really getting through this, just really getting over this. But I couldn't believe I did this all on my own, because that's what it looked like. And truly I didn't. I had a lot of support. I mean, Mark Wamth was a coach then, and I remember one time we played the first, it was like a preseason game, and it was cold. And like you said, I'm from North Carolina, and I was all squished up like I was cold and trying to get warm. And my woman said, "You better get out there and play. You can't be in this kind of I was squished up all trying to get warm." And so, because this is football, you got to get there and play. You can't get warm. And so from that, I went and, got in a good proper stance and began to play football. I didn't worry about the weather. The thing is, though, I expected cooler weather in the winter months, but this was in September, kind of first or second exhibition game. I said, man, I didn't sign up for that.
It was certainly a welcome.
Certainly, it was kind of a surprise for me, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, Beautiful. Family, football, that's what makes Carl Eller tick, it seems like.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for giving us those thoughtful answers. It was a treat to be able to hear that.
Well, it's
And
my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you very
of course,
much.
thanks,
Thank
Carl.
you.